Hello and welcome to the PocketGamer.biz Podcast, which I think is now on its 5th episode. Woohoo! That seems like a big number, the big 5. There's no 0 after that. My name is Rick Cowley. I'm the editor of PocketGamer.biz, and I'm slowly sweating to death in a very hot room on this very hot, almost bank holiday weekend. And I'm joined by two wonderful staff writers of PocketGamer.biz, Kaylee Partleton.
Hello.
And Matthew Ford.
Hello.
How is everybody doing in this hot heat that needs to stop?
Melting.
Yeah.
We're British. We're not used to this.
We don't have aircon. I can't open the window because people are just screaming outside at all times. So this is it. And if I slowly die during this podcast, that's on everybody else and not me, is how I feel. But it is a bank holiday weekend coming up. We are blessed with another day off on Monday. Anyone have any great plans?
I've got a few little things planned. I mean, to be honest, you can't do. Let's be honest, you can't do much at all at the minute. But I'm sort of. I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy like doing a conga in a street party, like nothing like that. But I'd got one of the things the government's open now is like golf courses.
Oh yeah. Of course.
So my uncle went a few weeks ago, and how they've got it all set out is you don't interact with any humans whatsoever. You literally just you pay on your card, you turn up, and I think there's a couple people dotted around the course to make sure everyone's spread out.
Yeah.
But then they just let you and maybe one other pair on in that slot, so you literally see nobody can go play a game of golf, which is much needed during this crazy times we're all living through.
That sounds absolutely dope.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, just walking around, there's nobody around, and I get to play a bit of golf. Exactly. So is that your plan? You're going off to play some golf on Monday?
It is, yes. That will be the plan.
Fantastic. I am incredibly jealous. Kaylee, are you doing anything exciting? Presumably not golf?
No, not golf. I can't hit a golf ball to save a life. Like.
Neither can I, for the record. I just play, like...
No, I'm having a barbecue with a load of beers and just feeling sorry for myself in the back garden, really.
Nice. To be fair,
like it.
Both of those sound absolutely perfect. I unfortunately don't have garden space, nor can I leave my home, so I'll be doing much the same as I do every day, sitting around. Probably sitting around sweating and watching Hell's Kitchen USA.
Lovely.
What a great day it'll be. But that's in the future, and we need to think about the now. And the now is that we're recording a podcast for PocketGamer.biz. So we should talk about that instead of our own lives, and instead talk about things like Garena Free Fire. Oh no, that's going to be our first thing. Well, I've just ruined the surprise. But Ubisoft suing Apple and Google. Gamescom going digital completely. We now know it's probably happening. Nintendo apparently not doing any proper directs in the future. Apple acquiring NextVR, Oculus Quest hitting a certain figure, and some other interesting stories. But as previously spoiled, Garena Free Fire has hit 80 million daily active users, which is quite the sum. It was on 60 million daily active users in March of this year, so it's taken 2 months to add another 20 million DAUs, which is pretty wild. It's also broken $1 billion in lifetime revenue. It made $90 million in the first quarter of 2019. It's basically gone wild. So I'm going to ask the question I ask every single podcast that we do. Have either of you even played this game?
My answer is always no.
I've dabbled very briefly with it. You can see a lot of mechanics taken from similar to sort of your PUBG and everything like that. Yeah. But it is pretty different. Yes, it's a huge game. It's just massive in the Asian market. It's games like PUBG and Garena Free Fire are the big two out there, more so than Fortnite. Fortnite, not compared to a lot of games, it's done well, but in the overall estimates,
compared to a lot of games, Fortnite has done well. It seems to be the understatement.
Yeah, what I mean in Asia itself,
yes.
So it's struggled if you compare to the other regions.
Sure.
Fortnite's not done as well. So I think it's just a hit over there.
Yeah. That was actually going to be my next question. Why hasn't PUBG and Fortnite, just completely wiped this off the map? How? Because the feeling I always get with these battle royales is you basically have Fortnite, which everybody knows about and is like the holy grail of Battle Royale. And then PUBG, which kind of did really well to begin with, started the whole craze, and now has sort of dwindled in numbers, except for PUBG Mobile, which has gone up and up and up. So I just don't understand how smaller games can continue to thrive when you've got these two behemoths that are just completely demolishing the rest of the market. But I think you've got a point about the Garena Free Fire is mostly big in the Asian market and not necessarily over here.
Yeah, and it's not like it's an entirely small company. I mean, Garena are owned by Tencent. I mean, surely I know everyone's owned by Tencent these days, but
they're owned by C, which I think has like some investment from Tencent. I don't think they're outright owned by Tencent.
But like, I think they understand how to market better over there as well. You know, if you look at the portfolio, it does seem to reflect that sort of thing. I mean, it's impressive whatever you look at it. The game launched in November 2017, and it was launched in 2017, and then by November 2019, it'd done $1 billion. Yeah, which is crazy.
That's absolutely, it is a mad number, and so few games have done that. We actually keep a list on PocketGamer.biz of the unicorns who have reached $1 billion in revenue. Please do check that out. I've actually been playing Free Fire because every time it comes up, I'm like, oh, I should really play that. And so I thought, okay, I'll sit down and play it. And the thing that really impresses me about it, because I've tried to get into Fortnite and did for a bit. I tried to get into PUBG Mobile and completely flat out failed. What I really like about Free Fire is that it's actually designed for mobile play. It's really short. Like the game, because you have 48 people landing on the island. It might be 50, but I've always had 48 in a game. The maps themselves are absolutely tiny, and the round times are like aiming for 10-15 minutes rather than like a PUBG game can stretch on for about an hour if you play it long enough and well enough. And there's just so much more focus on actual action and less about, because I always feel that Fortnite and PUBG are more about like building up your resources and slowly and tactically moving in and that kind of thing. Free Fire feels much more like get in there and kill as many people as possible. It's going to be fun. Woo!
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to argue that I'd say it does play better than Fortnite on mobile.
Wow, that's a big.
Well, that's sort of what you were saying as well. Like, I do think it does. Like, as you say, it has been designed for the platform, specifically from that. And it does, I just from the time I've played in both, I felt, you know, if I was going to go long-term on one, I could see why this one would be the choice.
Yeah, I guess it just appeals to different types of play as well. Because I guess, you know, we talk about Fortnite's not doing too great in Asia, and maybe that's because it is this longer game that you have to really sink into, whereas this is a faster paced and more interesting thing. And also the monetization and the building of the menus and stuff like that, the UI is very, very Asian. There are so many different things that you can spend on, different gacha that you can do, all that kind of thing. Lots of relatively scantily clad women who you can unlock as characters. You know, it appeals to a certain type of player, and it seems to be doing very well doing that. Speaking of games that are a bit like other games, except this time it's a lawsuit case. That was a good segue. I'm happy with that one. Ubisoft decided to launch a lawsuit against Apple and Google over a game called Area F2. Someone help me out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Area F2, which was made by, well, it wasn't made by Apple or Google.
eJoy, isn't it?
eJoy? That sounds good to me.
We'll take it.
But it's interesting because they went after Apple and Google for allowing the game on their stores, and apparently the Ubisoft got in touch with them and said, there's this copy of Rainbow Six Siege, which is what the game is claimed to have ripped off, and told Apple and Google. Apple and Google did nothing, continued to offer the game, and so they decided to sue them. We did the story a couple of days ago, and now actually I believe that Area F2 has been taken down completely off the thing.
Yeah.
So the question is, was Apple and Google the right people to go after? Or should Ubisoft have been saving this for eJoy, this whole lawsuit thing? I think it answered itself, really.
Yeah, I would have gone for eJoy. They're the ones that developed it, so they copied your game, not Google and Apple. So,
I mean, it's possible that we maybe didn't look too closely into the court proceedings and that eJoy was listed as part of that. But it's still sort of a weird, you know, going after the platform holders rather than the developer of the game to file your lawsuit. I guess if the main aim of the lawsuit is to get the game taken down, then sure. But usually you think lawsuit, you think, right, I want money and that kind of thing. I don't know. It's just it was a weird story to see Ubisoft going after the big boys of mobile just for this one game that had ripped them off, supposedly, reportedly.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it there as well. These two are the big boys of the platform. eJoy, I'd never heard of them before this. I don't know if anyone else had. So I think if you go for Apple or Google, it's going to make more noise for one, which is more likely for them to react to it. And I think obviously they've just published it without, the guidelines, anything like that. They've just not looked over it. They've just gone ahead with it. So I think by going to Apple and Google, they've hoped to get some action out of it in quicker, like much quicker. Yeah. And that seems to have happened. No,
that's absolutely true. I guess like they just, if you're going to, if you want something done quickly, start annoying the people higher up than just eJoy. It was especially funny because I saw, and not to say anything bad about our sister sites and everything like that, but PocketGamer.com did start doing some guides for Area 52 since it was getting popular, and then the game got pulled about an hour after they started posting guides, which is a shame. Although I believe I read the statement. We haven't updated our story on PocketGamer.biz yet, but we probably should. I believe the developer has taken it down for maintenance. And to expand on the game and make sure that it's the right game to give to their audience or that kind of thing. I think basically they're going to go through and try and remove anything that looks a bit CG, to be honest.
That's basically the whole game.
Yeah.
I played it and it was basically a copy.
Wow, so. Okay.
But that's the case with a lot of games, and you do find this, in my experience, a lot more on mobile, to be honest, especially across the App Store. You'll find many games taking assets from very well-known games, the likes of Super Mario, anything like that. You'll always see, Flappy Bird famously had warp pipes.
Yeah.
So, assets always seem to be copied or took from some other game for a lot of parts. So I think it's just something that Apple and Google need to address more, and maybe this might be a heads up, a waking up call to them. I doubt it, but you never know.
I guess the question... sorry.
Well, the thing is, though, Rainbow Six Siege is massive in esports, so Ubisoft aren't going to want anyone getting into their territory.
Yeah.
Especially through copying their own game. They're going to do what they can to stop it.
But, at what point does it stop being, a copy and it's just sort of an inspiration? How close to Siege actually is Area F2? Are we saying,
the layout's the same.
Okay.
The HUD's the same.
The maps and the characters and that kind of thing? Is that basically
basically the same.
Okay. In that
literally
case,
just a title and it's been scribbled out. Rainbow Six Siege or whatever.
Yeah. Ubisoft logo has just been carefully scratched out and then eJoy is on top of it. Allegedly. We're not saying that it was definitely a copy. That's just what we've heard, and that was the allegations that have been made. We would not say that. Don't cite us in any more lawsuits. Thank you. Area F2 has now been pulled because of the lawsuit. I'm sure we'll see it back in future. And I mean, Siege is a good game, and loads of people still play it, and it makes tons of money. So if they manage to change it enough and it comes back, maybe Area F2 will become popular in its own right. Who knows? Unless it decides to change itself massively, in which case it probably won't. Let's move on from games games very focused, and let's think about more general games, because I'm interested to talk about Gamescom in particular. It's decided it's now launched. It's now announced its full digital event for August with Jeff Keighley at the helm. I got his name right first time that time. He did the opening night ceremony for them last time, and he's going to be doing a similar thing this year, except obviously digital, and I believe there'll be other streams and stuff. Jeff Keighley's a busy boy, isn't he? Because what's this now? His third or fourth digital event that he's organising in some way. He's got Gamescom, he's got Summer Games Fest. He's probably, Summer Games Fest is just an umbrella for all the stuff he's doing within that with all the other companies. The question I have, and something that I'm kind of feeling at the minute, is anyone else feeling a bit fatigued over the number of digital events, in particular consumer events? I see a lot of nods.
I'm not, to be honest. I like them. The more the better for me. Especially in these times where we can't go anywhere, do anything. It's always interesting to see more digital events. But it is getting a bit mad at the minute. The amount of them. What is it? Games Plus, IGN Summer of Gaming, Ubisoft Forward, GDC Summer, and then we've got our own even PGC Digital. Nod. Wink, wink, all that. So it's great to have it all, but yeah, it's just going to be an experimental time at the minute. And I think, maybe the first 2 years there'll be lots of them, but then in a few years' time, the proper winners will surface and we'll only see the best.
Yeah. Kaylee, any extra thoughts?
No, I think Matt just nailed it on the head, to be honest. Logic again. God damn it.
Why are we so logical on this show? God. No, I think it's a good point that we're everybody's just trying their own things, and eventually the best will rise and the worst will disappear out as people look at their stats and go, actually, this isn't working, and some others think maybe it's better. In a way, I actually, initially I was thinking, well, maybe we won't miss E3 because it's got worse over the years. They did the whole leaking everyone's information, that kind of thing. No one's really excited about E3 anymore. Gamescom maybe, but still, crowds and people and there. I kind of miss E3, especially for us as journalists, when you sort of have to think about how much time you're going to invest in like writing these things up and getting all this information out. E3 it was like, okay, here's a week where everything's going to happen, and that's where I'm going to focus my attention. Gamescom, here's a week where I can focus. Now it's like Summer Games Fest is going to be 3 months, and we're not entirely sure what dates it's going to be. Then there's going to be another 3 days of Next Games Plus, New Game Plus, which is a lot of Japanese developers. So you got Sega and a bunch of others. I forgot who else. So you got 3 days of that. Then you've probably got another 3 days of IGN, or that'll be several months or something like that. So it's just like the cycle never stops, and you never get a chance to have a breather and actually appreciate the stuff that's come through. Because I think that's the problem I'm having, is all the stuff is being announced, and then I don't have time to go, oh, I'm excited about this, before the next thing comes along and goes, oh no, I have to be excited about that now.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, the fantastic thing about E3, which made it very special, was that it was 3 to 4 days of just announcements, hype, unbelievable things and dreams coming true for people that never thought it'd happen, in the game space, and there's nothing like E3. I don't know if there ever will be again, to be honest, but there isn't a thing like, the Oscars every year. They don't just, show loads of trailers and like announce loads of films there. Films are announced years and years in advance, but games, we get them all at E3. And now to have it spread out over a few more months. It's going to be exciting still, but it's not going to be that same buzz, I don't think.
Yeah. It lacks that concentrated energy as well, because it's so spread out and stuff that instead of having it all in one tidal wave, it'll just be little bits here and there.
Yeah, from a consumer perspective, I think it won't be as exciting, but from a developer publisher perspective, it makes perfect sense, because they're going to get more coverage, from all of us guys. So logically, as Kaylee was saying, it makes sense.
And the other thing is that because you read all these like horror stories of developers getting like vertical slices ready for E3 and tech demos and that kind of thing, and then you read back like 7 years later, it's like, oh yeah, the game wasn't actually playable, that none of that was going to make it into the game and all this kind of thing, and you see games come out 3 years later very different. Now developers have more of an opportunity to go, actually, we're not ready for Summer Games Fest, let's wait until New Game Plus or whatever, let's wait to announce our own thing at our own time, and they can kind of go at their own pace. So maybe we'll have less disappointment in the market as well, with less hype. Maybe. That's
the thing, though. As you mentioned it, like E3 was it was June every year, second week of June normally. With developers being able to release or announce anything at any time during the year, it's sort of been coming like that for the last few years. It used to be everything was announced in June or around that summer period. Now it's just 12 months a year.
Yeah,
like anything can drop anytime, which is great. That's very exciting,
I thought you were going to continue on.
I know.
No, it's just great and
exciting. I thought I was going somewhere.
It trailed away. It's just very exciting.
It's great and exciting, but oh god, I'm exhausted. It's kind of how I feel. Anyway, one company that is apparently not going to be getting involved in any of this hype, particularly not in one concentrated form, as we've been saying, is Nintendo. They are reportedly not going to be doing any more directs for the foreseeable future, and will continue to just keep dropping stuff at random. Matthew, you seem to be the only one left in the call. Are you sad about the lack of Nintendo Directs, or are you more excited to just have random announcements thrown at you at any one time?
I mean, there's nothing like a Nintendo Direct, is there? It's something special. It always is. With Nintendo Directs as well, we've been getting a lack of them recently. I mean, I think September was the last major one we got. And then obviously they dropped Paper Mario last week, just in a tweet. And then there was a smaller direct, I feel like a mini direct. Might have been an indie one.
I think there's been a couple of indie ones this year, and there's been a couple of ones that are just like just random announcements. No, not random announcements. Like one game at a time. So we had, I think throughout the year, we had a couple of the Fire Emblem. No, not Fire Emblem. I'm losing my mind. It's so hot in here. What's that game that everyone plays? Smash Bros.
Smash Bros. Yes.
Yeah, we had a few of those sort of coming out. They're very focused. Like, we're just going to do an hour on Smash Bros. And that kind of thing. So
yeah, with Sakurai giving you an in-depth look. Yeah.
So we kind of, I guess, have moved away from the big directs anyway. But it's still interesting that it's now like it's just not going to happen at all. Now it's going to be a tweet here and there.
Yeah, I still think we'll get them. It just seems like Nintendo's moving out the way because, as we were just previously discussing, everyone's doing their own conferences digitally at the minute. So I think Nintendo are going to wait until it's all blown over, maybe the September slot again, and then come back with another one. But to play devil's advocate, Nintendo might even do something different. You know, they started out the trend of directs doing these videos. Now that everyone's doing them, they might go, right, it's time for us to do something different altogether.
That would be pretty funny if Nintendo just started this whole trend and then saw everybody else doing it, went, actually, you know what? Not interested anymore.
Hey, Nintendo are weird in the best and worst ways.
They will do whatever they think is right for however long and whenever they want to do it. It's great. I love them so much. Yeah, give a little nod to the hat there. So yes, lots of announcements coming over the summer, none from Nintendo, at least not in a direct form. All very exciting times, if you don't die of the heat first. It's so warm. Let's take a break from the podcast for a sec. It is so warm in the UK right now. What the heck is going on?
Global warming.
Sorry, I love how deadpan that was. Okay, we're resuming the podcast now. I didn't actually stop recording there. I just that's a nice little outtake moment for anyone who made it to the halfway point. Okay, what are we talking about? Games. Apple is a big thing in games, and I just opened the wrong window. It's all going wrong again, guys. I'm so sorry. Apple are big in games. They make the phones that we play them on most of the time, and they have just acquired virtual reality specialist NextVR. We are not entirely sure how much they paid for it, although there are rumors that it was coming to around $100 million. We're not entirely sure why they acquired NextVR. We're not entirely sure what they're going to do with them. Who's excited for Apple VR, I guess? It's been rumored for a while. It's going to happen now, surely. Kaylee?
I hope it happens. Logically, you don't buy a virtual reality specialist and not go down the VR route. But VR excites me. Like, I like the direction it's going and seeing the development, especially how it's grown in recent years. And I think Apple could be a big player in VR, especially with their new acquisition, as long as they actually follow through with it and don't get bored and titter off halfway through.
Yeah, I guess the thing about Apple buying them is that Apple already has kind of a captive audience for its phones because they're selling like millions and millions of those every year and always launching new ones. And they've obviously done experiments into AR, so VR is just kind of a next step for them. So I guess, you know, within 2-3 years, we may end up seeing like Google Cardboard, but for iPhones, which would be great. Or just or Gear VR, where you slot the whole thing in and then strap it to your face. I think that could be fun. I don't know, Matthew, would you be interested in Apple VR if it was to come to pass?
Absolutely, I'm a huge VR advocate. I've got a PlayStation VR myself. I try and jump into it every now and then. The problem I have, which I think many people are finding, is wires with the unit. It's very frustrating to set up and then take down and everything. And that's why the Oculus has done so well, being wireless and everything like that. If Apple can do something similar, integrate it with mobile in some way. Definitely have my attention. It's an interesting purchase in this climate, I think. I mean, I don't know if they've seen the company were particularly cheap, or it was just a good offer at the time or something.
I mean, if it was $100 million, it's not exactly pocket change.
No. Well, for Apple, but no, still. Just because obviously VR units are a high-end product. And, you know, we're likely going to another recession now, especially in the UK. We know that's going to happen. I don't know how many people will be able to, you know, purchase these devices going forward. I mean, if you look at Sony recently, they've dropped off a bit with their marketing and, you know, coverage of PlayStation VR. Apart from the Iron Man game they've got coming up, and they've just announced a bundle for that. They've been very quiet. There's not much on the horizon, and I think that might be the same for VR. It's struggled in the past. It may struggle again, even though sales of PlayStation VR have been pretty decent for a high-end product. But I just don't, you know, right now, I don't think I could get another one. Well, I'll get one in the first place. I don't need another one, but you know what I mean? If I was getting it. So I'm just interested to see how long they, as Kaylee says, stick with it. And, you know, it's something 5 years down the line. Have they still got it? Are they still invested? Or is it just something they've took a punt at?
Yeah, I guess the question really is how much has Apple already invested their time into VR, because there've been rumors about them doing VR for about 2 or 3 years at this point. And now they've actually sort of like cemented those rumors by acquiring a VR firm. Is it like, is the acquisition just to help them get over the finishing line and start publishing it out? Or is it more about sort of like, they haven't actually invested that time yet, and we're still 3 years out from Apple doing any sort of VR? You know, that's questions we don't have the answers to, unfortunately, but it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. As you say, like, you know, you mentioned Google Cardboard. It would be good if Apple can come up with like a cheaper version, something along those lines for...
I sincerely doubt Apple would do a cheaper version.
Yeah, not than Google Cardboard. Sorry, what I mean is like your more high-end products. Obviously, VR units, you know, it can be about 300, 400 quid. If not, you need a high-end, you need a fully decked out PC as well, which is over $1,000. If they can come up with something, you know, around the 100 to 200 mark, that could go a long way.
That's very true. One VR headset that has been doing phenomenally well lately, and does not have any wires and actually fulfills all our needs to consider it mobile, is the Oculus Quest. I am desperate to get my hands on one. I almost bought one yesterday, but then realized I'm poor and cannot afford to buy an Oculus Quest, no matter how much I try to convince myself that I don't need any money right now. It is now, according to Oculus, and it's celebrating its first year anniversary, its first birthday. Over $100 million has now been spent on content on the Quest. So that's games, that's apps, that's movies, that kind of thing. Further details include that we've seen 10 titles surpass the $2 million in revenue mark, including titles like Moss and Pistol Whip. And there's 20 Quest games alone that have hit the $1 million revenue mark. And these games are usually retailing for about 25 quid at the worst. So you're thinking like 400,000 copies off the top of my head, which is pretty substantial when you consider that, you know, a few years ago we were saying, oh, nobody's got a VR. It's not selling at all. There's a very niche market. And now we're seeing like developers making $2 million and probably selling, you know, in the region of about 1 million copies of a game, which is exciting and very interesting. I mean, is this an indication that the Quest is the way forward, that this in its own contained unit mobile VR is the way forward? Does this prove it, or is this not actually that exciting a number? Any thoughts?
Do you want to take this, Kaylee, or shall I go?
Yeah, no, I'll take it. No, I think it is exciting, and I do actually. I think the number actually does reflect how well mobile VR can do, and the Oculus Quest, I think, is the future of VR in general, because earlier Matt mentioned about wires, and that's what part of the problem is with the PlayStation VR, and the Quest is completely wireless, and much like you, Rick, I would absolutely kill to have one.
Facebook, if you're watching. Yeah, if anybody from Facebook or Oculus is watching and they feel like supplying 3 nice young poor people with Oculus Quests, I know they're back in stock. I checked your website yesterday. I had it in my basket ready to buy, and then had to stop myself at the last minute when I just paid my water bill. Curse you.
I think the thing with Oculus is they're all in on VR, and they've been doing the incremental updates over time. It did start off wired, and they have made the upgrades, and it's finally gone wireless. As opposed to the competitors like Sony have their consoles, and which they're much more focused on. The VR is sort of a side project. So in that respect, I can see Oculus in the long term coming out, on top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are a VR first and only company. So, and they're still supporting other things. So they've got the Rift S, which is all wired, and they've got the Go, which I think they're still kind of supporting, which is like Gear VR. So very simple, very cheap mobile VR. They've got basically a stranglehold on the marketplace, unless you're getting Valve Index or some other VR headset, which I think a lot of people might be wanting to because of Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah, HTC Vive. That's the other one.
That's the other one. Yeah, I knew I was forgetting one. Thank you. I think we've all agreed there that we all want a Quest. My address is but you can reach me at rick.cowley@steelmedianetwork.com. Speaking of things that are selling well, Minecraft has now hit 200 million copies sold, which is pretty darn impressive for a game that launched. How old is Minecraft now? It's at least a decade.
11?
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah.
2009. 11 years. God,
11 years old.
I'm so old. I bought Minecraft when it was like you had to go on a crummy looking website, and they were doing like a Valentine's Day sale where if you bought one copy for $14 or something, you got a second copy to give to a friend, because they'd only really just started doing multiplayer. Like, it's wild to think that now it's owned by Microsoft, and we never speak about its original creator anymore. It's just such a strange game.
Yeah.
As part of the $200 million sales, I do apologize. Mojang has now rebranded itself as Mojang Studios. I am not entirely sure why. Can anyone explain this one to me?
It's because of all the studios they have, so now they're all under one title, I do believe.
Right. I didn't even
thought behind it.
I didn't even know that Mojang had like multiple studios. I thought they were still just like one team.
Yeah, there's multiple studios that are part of Mojang. So now Mojang Studios, the collective, it includes all of them, I think.
I mean, that certainly sounds like it would make sense. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to say on this. I just thought it was really weird.
Yeah, I mean, Minecraft's continued to perform incredibly well over the years, and I imagine will continue to perform incredibly well as we go forward. As new generations are introduced to the game, and just more people will continue to jump in and go around, because for the most part it is a younger audience that do play these games, and then they move off, play other titles, and then you keep going forward. I mean, a friend of mine recently, during all this quarantine chaos, bought the game on Switch, and then she's been pretty addicted to it ever since. So, and she's about my age, so mid-20s. So, I think Minecraft's just one of those great games that it can hit anybody at any time and will continue to thrive.
I think the other interesting thing as well is it's hitting an average of 126 million monthly active users, which means that like people are buying it and then people keep playing it no matter what. You've still got people tuning in and turning it on and starting it up. Even like 11 years. It feels like yesterday that Minecraft came out. I don't know why. I think it's just because it keeps getting new updates and they keep throwing more and more at it. Like on PC, they got the exciting new lighting engine and all this kind of thing. The Bedrock update and Minecraft together, where they've finally got cross-platform on every console, on everything. It's just wild that it continues to be this big thing, and yet we're seeing other big things kind of growing around it, like Fortnite and PUBG. The games industry is just wild, man. That's all I've got to say on the matter.
Video games are cool.
Video games are so cool. Why do we have these cool jobs where all we do is sit around and talk about video games all day? Do you want to talk about another video
Don't
game?
pull that thread.
Let's talk about another video game that I'm excited about. Mostly curious, but kind of into Harry Potter Puzzles and Spells. Finally released its sort of first debut trailer, showing off some of the gameplay, some of the iconic locations that you'll be visiting. We don't normally cover this kind of thing, but I think it's worth looking at because obviously Harry Potter's a huge license. Zynga is the company developing it, and they're a huge company, and they know how to make a good casual game. You've got Portkey Games and Warner Brothers obviously doing all the licensing behind it. So it's a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of effort going into this game. Did anyone check out the trailer and go, hell yeah, I'm going to play this?
Not yet.
Absolute silence.
I watched the trailer. It was fine. Like, it's a match 3 game. There wasn't much in the trailer to go off, to be honest. It's just a few stills of, like, as they say, iconic locations from the series. So nothing massive to get excited to. But if you like match 3 games, you like Harry Potter, I'm sure you'll like this. The
thing is, though, does anyone really like Harry Potter that much anymore? To play games of Harry Potter? Yes. Is the real question. Yeah, you think?
Yeah, give me that big RPG that was rumored by Rocksteady Studios or whatever. Like, yes. But like this sort of thing. And to be honest, the one I'm more interested in is Magic Awakened.
Yes.
The one from NetEase, which is like, I think it's supposed to be an RPG card game. That one speaks more to me, and I think that could pull from the universe a lot more. Lot more interesting than just a match 3 game for me personally. I mean, I played a lot of Wizards Unite.
I think you're about the only one.
Well, yeah, that's very true. This is obviously the Niantic game, which was the follow-up to Pokemon Go, which it didn't take off, not nearly as well. Again, that had good ideas around it. It just didn't quite stick the landing. Yeah,
I guess. We've seen a few Harry Potter games. I say a few. We've seen like 2 Harry Potter games come to mobile recently, because we had Hogwarts Mystery from Jam City, which was kind of like the classic Glue Kardashian game, which didn't really. It's still got a following. I think it's in its 2nd year of running now, and Jam City is still clearly putting effort into it, and there's a dedicated fan base. But I don't think it flew off the shelves as people were hoping. Wizards Unite, as we mentioned. Yeah, it's done pretty well, but it's not.
It's done pretty well.
It's not been like a phenomenal success, though. And the same could be said for Wizards Unite, which I guess a lot of people were looking at and thinking, hell yeah, we've got this huge license. We've got the power of Niantic and Pokemon Go behind it. If we mush these 2 together, we've got another $1 billion hit. And that, I feel, again, is sort of, when I say failed, I mean, I feel it's like not lived up to the expectations that you would have for something with the Harry Potter brand on it. So my question is the Harry Potter brand still even worth going after for these games? Because obviously people seem to think there is still worth in the Harry Potter brand, because otherwise they wouldn't be picking it up and there wouldn't be Portkey Games licensing it out and stuff. But we've still got, that's the other question, isn't it? Is what's the audience and who's actually going to play these games? And we'll find out more answers to that after we see, I've already forgotten what it's called, Puzzles and Spells launch. Because once that comes out, we'll see if casual players are still playing it. We've got the Magic Awakened, as you were saying, which sounds like a more hardcore RPG card game. Are people going to be interested in that because it has the Harry Potter license? We may never know. Like, who is playing Harry Potter games these days? We'll find out shortly, hopefully, when these 2 new games come out.
Yeah, I just don't think anybody's nailed it. I mean, I think the closest is maybe the Lego games. That take on these worlds. They do extremely great jobs with all IPs, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Marvel games, whatever. They just seem to understand why people love these IPs and all the lore and everything behind them. And I don't think we've had that yet on any platform outside of a Lego format, like a real undertaking of the universe. So I still think there's massive weight behind the Harry Potter name and everything like that. It's definitely not helped it. These games, floundering a little bit, but I'd still definitely be excited of any new game announcements.
I mean, as a person with 6 Harry Potter games on his desk just below him that I'm now eyeing up, I think they pretty much nailed it a few times. Goblet of Fire. No, not Goblet of Fire. Order of the Phoenix. I mean, what a classic title that is.
I'll take your word for that.
Oh, it's so
That was
good.
a good one.
Yeah, thank you, Kaylee, for the backup.
Is this the Lego one or the actual real one?
No, the actual real one. The officially licensed. Daniel Radcliffe is on the box as well. There he is in all his glory. Phenomenal, great stuff.
But they were so long ago, as you said. That's PlayStation 2. Like,
yeah, I mean that's the time when Harry Potter was still popular in the general populace, and people were still going out and seeing the films and reading the books and that kind of thing. I mean, I feel like the time has probably passed for Harry Potter.
To some extent, you're probably right, because if you look at the Fantastic Beasts series in film, they've been losing money. Well, not losing money, but like not made nearly as much as the Harry Potter series. Like each one, since I think they've only had 2 so far, but that's why the 3rd one has been put on hold, just because there isn't that much. I don't know if that might be a story thing as much as anything, but audiences aren't going out as much to see it.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah. You know, what IP do we think people should be going after? If not Harry Potter, and obviously not Marvel, because everybody's getting Marvel. If we were going to see a new IP, what's popular? What's cool with the kids? Let's solve this problem right now, because I don't have anything else to talk about. So we're going to sit here for 10 minutes and solve the IP problem. Let's go. What's your favorite IPs at the moment that are vastly underrepresented, and we could make mobile games of? Kaylee, I'm going to put you on the spot.
DC.
No. we've got like Injustice, and there was a DC like Battler game that was pretty good. Okay, yeah, I'll allow it.
There's a few. I know what you mean. We haven't had a massive DC game for a while. There was a Batman Arkham game as well on mobile, which stupendously failed. I remember that. I'm trying to think what would be a good one. What's big right now? What is big in cinema? A Wonder Woman game. That'd be fun. Wonder Woman game would be cool, but I'd rather have that on console. This is what I mean. These sort of games for mobile. If you are going to go for it, it has to be. I don't know. It has to be. There has to be a good mechanics behind it. There has to be a reason, like Pokemon did with Pokemon Go. You know, something that just fits. It's not. I'd rather have a game that doesn't slap an IP on that focuses on one mechanic and nails it.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I mean, let's talk about Pokemon Go, because that game still remains great. And I think the reason that worked is because it gave you that sensation of being a Pokemon trainer and going out into the world and catching Pokemon. And like you can just transport that over to Harry Potter, but it doesn't make any sense because Harry Potter didn't go out like collecting things. He went out fighting bad guys briefly at the end of the whole series.
Yeah, they want to collect stuff in the last 2. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they only collected 7 things. You can't make a game out of that.
Yeah. You can make a game out of anything.
Yeah, I've run out of things to talk about, so we should just wrap up the podcast. That's the end of my schedule. It's been great. I really enjoy doing this, actually. I don't know if anybody makes it to the end of the podcast, but if you do, thank you so much for sticking with us. We will be back again next week to discuss more about mobile games and the games industry and everything like that. And I will be setting homework for these 2 to come up with some better IPs that are underrepresented. And we'll talk about that at the start of next episode. We won't, don't worry. Yeah, a quick reminder, we are doing roundtables on PocketGamer.biz now. I think we're waiting a week for the next one, so we'll probably be back on June 2nd for one of those, but we did one this week on the topic of preparing to pitch. We had some great guests, great chat. It was really good, really informative, and people seem to really like it. That's on YouTube now if you want to check it out, and we'll find a written version of it. Well, you know, some highlights from it written up by me at some point in the near future. We do also have Pocket Gamer Connects Digital coming very, very quickly. I'm going to get the date right this time. It is June 8th to the 12th. Nailed it. Yep. We will probably end up doing a PGBiz podcast during that as well as part of the show, or just alongside it. It'll be great. We've got loads of guests planned and talks and panels and that kind of thing. We're revamping the meeting system big time, so it's going to be really good this time. Trust us on this one, it really will be much better. and all sorts of other improvements and stuff. The first time was a great learning curve for us, and this second one is going to be even better. So please do get tickets for that if you haven't already. I believe midterm sale prices on those are ending very, very shortly. They may even be gone by the time this episode is out, so do get your tickets fast. We've also got Blockchain Gamer Connects Digital, I think, at some point in the future. I'm not sure about that one, but if you're interested in blockchain gaming, do check that out as well. Give it a Google. I'm sure there'll be information on blockchaingamer.biz as well. Is that everything that we're allowed to announce at the moment?
I've got an IP.
Okay, great.
Oh,
James Bond.
Yes.
No
one has nailed James Bond.
I've always thought the Hitman developers should do a James Bond game.
Yes. Okay, you've nailed it.
Someone call up IO right now. Listen, guys, we got the game for you. But are they owned by Warner Brothers these days? No, they went independent.
No,
they were owned by Warner Brothers. Now they're independent. They could do whatever they like. Okay, phenomenal. We've nailed it. That makes me very happy. We can end the podcast on a good note. Okay, I think that's everything. So it's a goodbye from Kaylee.
Bye.
Goodbye from Matthew.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thank you once again. Do check out PocketGamer.biz for all your latest and greatest in news and games information. We'll be back next week. See you later. Bye.